hello there.
Here already. Good morning, Jimmy. I am running just a minute or two late today. Missed the stream. That's funny. Thanks, Kevin. We want this one. That's the one we want. There you go. See, there you go. It's like it was meant to be. Golly, what a day, what a day. It's gonna be a great day. Just give me a second. I'm trying to unfuck myself here.
I say kill them all!
It's just like that, too. Oh, man. Good morning, Joy. How are you? All Kevin wants to see is the starship. Yeah, just give me a second. I'm still going here. We'll talk about it in a second here. I'm turning on my candle here. By turn on, I mean igniting it with a torch, so it'll light and smell nice before we get going. Getting my day started. I've started using the. I'll have to show you, Joy, where we found a place for the tea light. Finally, I have to take a picture and show it to you so you can see it. Oh, we love it. The Kraken tea light. It's legit. Okay, one more second here, and then I'll turn on my face and get the show going. Just one more second. Hey there. Good morning. How are you? It's been an an interesting morning already. Interesting morning already. I'm Spartan John. For everybody that doesn't know, thanks for stopping and being awesome with us already on a Thursday morning. We're gonna do some reading here in a minute. It's the typical Thursday. We read the Halo books together. We make great jokes. We do all the fun things together. It's you know how it goes. It's a train wreck to watch. Thanks, buddy. Thanks. Jesus. Train wreck to watch. Well, you know. Huh. Hey Siri, what's the #1 movie in 1995?
It's what I found.
Okay, so we have 1,995 followers today. Thank you, everybody, for staying with us. It's like for 2 days this week we were backwards a follow at the beginning of the stream. So today we're forwards an additional follow. So back one ahead two. It's good. We're on our way to 2,000. Thanks for being awesome with us, every single one of you. In 1995, the #1 movie was Batman Forever. So I believe that was the Val Kilmer Batman. Rip Val Kilmer. But yeah, there you go. Batman. 1995. And we're at 28 viewers currently, according to it can't be right. According to the stream manager on Twitch. My OBS says we have 7, so there's something different going on there. Anyway, Thanks for watching, everybody. Like, share, subscribe. We're gonna start reading here in a minute. It's our normal Thursday pack content. We sift through the mess that is the Spartan space. I still have some art and some things to hang, and read the new Halo book, which we're over halfway through now. It's the Kelly Gay novel, Edge of Dawn. I'm enjoying it so far. Cool. We're going to love that. I was going to tell you about this morning. I slept in this morning. I hung out with everyone. I was the last one, I think. No, that's not true. That's not true. Last night, Kevin got off before me, and I left Laird and Cam and a buddy of mine from the past. My buddy Bryce stopped by into the Spartan Space last night. Haven't seen him in a long time. Shout out to him. He's probably sleeping. But he stopped by and hung out for a little bit. It was nice. It sounded like he was getting along well with some other community members as I departed, and I was happy to see that. It's always nice when the community gets together and does community things. Speaking of community things, every Friday this week... Every Friday this week? Huh. Every Friday this week? No. Every Friday this year so far, the community, people in the community have populated in the Spartan space in a Friday evening. I went and watched episode 3 of Academy. So bad. Ooh, okay. All right, we'll talk about it, maybe. I haven't seen it yet. I gotta catch up. I have been dragging my feet to the start line of that one, if I'm honest. I already gave you the debrief on it a couple of days ago. It was terrible. Not my jam. I'm not excited about it. Anyway, if you guys are... if you guys like this kind of content, we're going to read today. Normally we play Halo, and we do some arting and stuff. We've got a couple of conventions coming up we'll talk about. And then again, Fridays, we do this impromptu. I don't even make an announcement. People have just started to populate on Friday nights. Every Friday this year so far it's happened. And it's great people. It's been different people, too. It hasn't just been the same dudes. There's been a core. You know, Jimmy and Joy, Kevin's been there, Laird has been there, I've been there. But, you know, Cam has showed up. You know, just... I'm not going to throw out all the names, but there's been a bunch of people who have showed up differently. You know, we had like 10 or 12 people. We played different games or whatever. Last week we talked about movies. That's all we talked about. We just talked about movies for a bit. It was really cool. And it's nice that the community is doing that. We make the Discord. We have the Spartan space for that purpose. And it grows every day. So thank you for contributing to that, being part of that. If you want to contribute to that in some other way, contribute or be a big part of it, then just join the Spartan space and come and jump in a voice call someday. Disclaimer, if it's the launch bay, that's the live stream. So just know that. Other than that, come and be awesome with us. It's probably one of the coolest communities you could ever be part of. The Spartan space, the awesome, the everything we've got going on. And come and find us at a convention. We're at like 5 of them this year, maybe more. We'll see. Hey, over there on YouTube, I don't forget. I see you guys over there. Thanks for being part of the awesome. We're at 191 subs on YouTube. Apparently, somebody over there was sad and also did not want to be part of us anymore. We miss you already. And bye, Felicia, I guess. Anyway, yeah, anyway, real great show today. Nothing really crazy to talk about. Nothing huge. The Kraken won last night, 4-1, I want to say, and so that was nice. Very, very excited about that. I watched that live in the awesome, and that was cool. Hey Siri, what time are the NFL games on Sunday?
Here's what's coming up in the conference championships for Sunday. The Broncos take on the Patriots on Sunday at noon, and the Seahawks play the Rams on Sunday at 3:30 p.m.
3:30, as it should be. At least we have the late game. So if you want to watch a really great football game or two, I I'm unable to stream them to Discord or to live because of the way that stuff works. But I was headed to bed when hockey started last night. Darn West Coast games on weeknights. Yeah, it started at 6 p.m. And the puck drop was actually like 6. It's like some stupid thing. It's always weird. Baseball used to do that. Baseball would be like, first pitch is at 7:05, or first pitch is at 7:15, or first pitch is at 7:35. Kickoffs for NFL are like, you get the 1 o'clock slot and the 1:25 slot in the afternoon. There's no idea why they start 30 minutes later. It's kind of weird like that, but yeah, definitely. It's something up about that. And I'm sorry that you guys live in the snow-ridden Midwest East Side area, that makes a whole lot of no sense. Anyway, I'm sorry that you guys live over there in Wisconsin and Minnesota and, all of those areas over there. West Coast, best coast. Except I don't get any of the snow right now. Last night we had the coldest evening on record in a year. It was 29 degrees last night. It's a real cold one. News was bragging about it this morning. The little news, the weather girl was, oh my god, it was the coldest night since news. Anyway. Alright, guys, let's... sometimes I crack myself up. Let's get this thing going, huh? I left pop in my car. Hopefully it didn't explode. Yeah, Kevin, that, I don't know what to tell you about that, my friend. I hope your pop didn't explode. For everybody, that's, soda. Not to be confused with, well, I mean, I just call it Coke, because I'm like, give me a Coke. Fire the missiles! Yeah. Oh my god. And for everybody else out there, it's not petrol, it's gas. If it's a root beer, then it's a root beer only. You don't call root beer a soda. Or you call a Coca-Cola a Coke, and you call root beer a root beer. Everything else could be a soda. Petroleum car juice. Alright. I see that Jimmy has shown up today, choosing aggression. Alright, here we go. Again, thank you for being awesome with us. We read for the first 2 hours on Thursdays, approximately. Ancient biomass remains. Yep, dinosaur fuel. So we usually read for about the first 2 hours. It's good-ish. I've been told it's my I've been told it's the best content that I make for this. So who knows? Anyway, for anybody who doesn't know the rules, here's the bookmark. Dun, 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 dun. It's not my favorite ship, but it's one of my favorite ships. Everybody loves the fat one. It just means that somebody's gonna edit this someday, maybe, and then you'll be able to come back and just listen to the book, and you won't have to listen to the rest. Anyway, bookmark. Alright, it's Halo Edge... Halo Edge of Dawn. I'm gonna put a marker here. By Kelly Gay. Chapter 22. Lifeworker Central, June 6, 2560. A young Marine pushed her hair. Fuck, oh my god. I just dropped my book. We're gonna start over. Give me a second. This is... Ugh. Alright, here we go. We're gonna try this again. It's gonna be one of those days, I can tell. Here's the bookmark. Shit. Chapter 22, Life Worker Central, June 6, 2560. A young Marine pushed her way through the crowd. Sir, Commander Thompson requests your presence in the Ops Center. We've picked up increased banished activity along the jungle perimeter. They seem to be gathering. How many? Unclear, sir, but it's more than anything we've seen so far. The commander thinks you should see this. Lead the way. As they moved through the camp, John could feel the weight of expectation on his shoulders. Joy wasn't wrong. These people believed in him, believed that he could turn the tide of the war. He couldn't let them down. Chief, are you thinking what I'm thinking? Joy asked. If the banished are congregating in large numbers, there's a high probability it's Jaga. And if it is, we're the ones he's looking for. We can't endanger these people. Agreed. The Ops Center loomed ahead, a bustling hive of activity situated in a barren chamber whose purpose was long forgotten. Makeshift tables and tech had been positioned along the stone walls. A few shortwave radios, radar stations, and a central tactical holotable had been salvaged and repaired. As John entered the room, all eyes turned to him. Commander Thompson was waiting on the other side of the tactical table, his expression grave. Master Chief, he said, leaning both hands on the edge of the table, you're just in time. We've got a situation brewing. He gestured to the holographic projection displayed above the table, which depicted Lifeworker Central, the adjacent Tadeja ruins, and 2 kilometers of surrounding jungle. Just outside the depicted range, red clusters indicated banished activities. At Joy's prompt, John leaned down so that she could manifest onto the hollow table. The people outside needed a symbol of hope, but in here, it was time to get down to business. As he was glad her desire to be of assistance outweighed her previous hesitation, she wasted no time. The dome of protection that surrounds the complex. Have you found its power source? She asked. No, not. Thompson froze, realizing who he was now talking to, and immediately the mood in the room shifted. Joy glanced around at the stunned faces and then lifted her chin a bit higher as she locked her hands behind her back. Short version, not her. She's gone. I'm new. Joyous is the name, and the baggage of the past really doesn't matter right now. No one in the room responded. Joy cast a weary look his way, and John dipped his head. She had his full support. She returned his nod and then refocused, her holographic gaze meeting those around her with resolve. I'm here to fight alongside you, if you let me. Judge me by my actions, not by my appearance. Now, about those power sources. As long as the banished don't discover them, the dome will hold, and your location should remain safe. If you haven't found them yet, it could mean they're underground or hidden with similar Forerunner technology, which is the best case scenario. The bigger issue is a ground assault accidentally coming through the distortion without realizing it. Despite the clear suspicion in the room, her brief sit-rep seemed to draw them closer to the table, and it was evident by the thoughtful furrow in Thompson's brow that he was taking her words to heart. If that happens, John added, they'll relay your location and it's game over. Right now, they're in the sky keeping to a search pattern, so there's still time to act. What are you thinking, Spartan? Thompson asked. John scanned the map. They haven't found our dropship yet. If we can get to it and lead them away, like hell you will. We've got explosives buried in locations throughout the jungle just for this purpose. It'll draw them off without directly engaging, Lieutenant Cardenas, Thompson said, to the same Marine who had escorted the Master Chief into the command center. Put the word out. Combat teams Lima, Mike, and Tango will ignite the charges and draw the banished off our location. Do not engage outright. If enemy boots hit the ground, Whiskey and Zulu will take them down. Guerrilla warfare only. We can't afford anything else. Yes, sir. Cardenas hurried from the command center. Master Chief, I've heard briefly from Dr. Schaff. I don't need your report to know. Whatever you're up to is important. If you need to retrieve your asset and continue your mission, I won't stop you. But I can sure as hell keep the Banished busy and clear your way. Roger that, Commander. With a grateful salute, John left the room and made quick time through the corridors and walkways and back to the field hospital. As he entered, Dr. Schaff looked up from his data pad. Master Chief, he acknowledged. Doc, I'm already aware. Word moves quickly around here. Your pilot went to round up supplies a while ago and should be back soon. His prognosis? Internal bruising, 2 rib fractures, fissures, so not too much to worry about, and a partially collapsed lung. Very small, also nothing to worry about. We've aspirated the excess air in his chest wall, but he'll continue to have sudden chest pain and shortness of breath for a while. And Browning? Before Dr. Schaff could respond, Esparza entered the room, out of breath and laden with 2 large sacks of supplies. He looked exhausted, but there was a determined set to his jaw as he dropped the sacks against the wall. I got everything we need to resupply the Pelican. Dr. Schaff let out a martyred sigh. I'm fine, Doc, Esparza promised. We don't have to take it easy. We don't have time for that. John stepped closer to Esparza. I can pilot the dropship. Are you sure you don't want to stay here and... No way, I can handle it. Don't leave me here. The thought of being separated from the Master Chief was clearly horrifying, but there was something else, a decisive resolve John hadn't seen before. Esparza grabbed John's wrist. This is how I work my way back from my mistakes. Please let me help you. Whether he believed it or not, the pilot had already helped tremendously. John might have dragged him down to the surface of the ring, but there had been plenty of opportunities since then for Esparza to run. Yet each and every time, despite his fear, he'd been there, no matter how much he was complaining about it. Come on, Chief, we've got a job to do, right? Right. Good call, Spartan. Joy's pleased voice filtered through his helmet. Dr. Schaff mentioned for John to join him at Browning's bedside, where the medic lay clean-shaven and hooked up to an IV and sensor nodes, feeding data into a portable screen. Browning was staring up at the ceiling, but turned his head as they approached. John knew the best thing for this kid was to leave him behind. But if he took the chance, it might backfire. If they led Jago away and the Blade Master somehow discovered Browning wasn't with them, he'd retrace his steps right back to the encampment. The potential risk was too great. He's severely malnourished, but we've got him on a high nutrient drip. Should be about 60% rehydrated and nourished by now. The bigger concerns are the internal injuries. Lacerated liver, punctured lung, bruised kidneys, broken bones, a number of which have been broken and rebroken, reset and broken again. We fitted him with a Smart Assist splint to allow mobility to his legs while his bones and muscles heal. The splints, John knew well from many injuries he'd acquired in his adolescence on Reach, were smart, malleable, nanocarbon strips that stuck to the skin and the bottoms of the feet, creating an energy field around the affected limbs, which offered protection and mobility assistance while alleviating some of the more painful effects of gravity. We're also lucky to have a suite of TNTRs at our disposal, targeted nanoparticle therapy and repair, Schaff continued, or medbots, as you grunts like to call them. He's been injected with a complete series, programmed to repair and facilitate healing to his internal injuries. Is he safe to move? Schaff gave another sigh, checking the screen one more time. If you take it slow and careful, yes, but I strongly advise against it. Browning attempted to push himself up on his elbows. I'm going with you. The look of determination that burned in his dark eyes and the anger simmering beneath the surface were hard to miss. The kid was pushing through pain and exhaustion and whatever hardships might lie ahead in order to remove the Harbinger's influence and help bring down the enemies. He respected Browning's choice of occupation, but John thought he'd have made an excellent soldier as well. It's up to you, Schaff told Browning. You've been through I know I've been through it, he snapped, immediately regretting it. I'm sorry, Doc. I I know what's at stake, more than anyone. I cannot stay here. The safest place I can be is with the Master Chief, and if I'm with him, you'll all be safe. Right, Chief? Tell them. The Banished. They're after me. John turned to Shaw. Can you stabilize him for transport? I can give him a stimulant to keep him alert and adjust the TNTRs for the on-the-go repair, but he'll need constant monitoring. Joy gave him a nudge, and John lifted his hand as she appeared. I can do that. I'll link with the medbots and track his vitals. Typical of Shaft's stoic nature, he showed no surprise at the small blue figure standing in John's palm. He administered the stimulant and adjusted the medbots from his datapad. Joy linked with the datapad, her form flickering as she instantly absorbed the information within, and then created a small display window in the corner of John's HUD. All set, she reported. We'll take it from here. John saluted the doctor. Thanks for your help. Be safe out there. Outside the hospital area, 5 4-man combat teams led by Cardenas waited for them. Geared up and ready, Commander Thompson's orders, she said. We'll escort you out of here, out of the complex, sir. Appreciate the backup. Let's move out. The 2 soldiers assisted Browning. While the medic could now stand with the aid of the small splints, he was still weak, unbalanced, and in need of supports. With their help, the group was able to make a decent time moving through the outskirts of the complex and past the protective barrier of the dome and into the jungles, where 3 teams split off to ignite the charges, and the other 2, Whiskey and Zulu, formed a protective perimeter around John and his companions. Once in the thick of the jungle, John was on high alert. The teams had gone silent, the hum of insects and the distant calls of unseen creatures filling the void. Beyond the jungle canopy, the sun was setting, casting the area in near total darkness. As they closed in on the Pelican's position, Hightower at the front of the group held up a fist, signaling for them to stop. He crouched, examining the ground. Tracks, he murmured through their shared team comm channel, looking up. Jackal patrols, recent. How many? At least 5. John glanced back at Browning, then at Esparza. They couldn't afford a fight right now. We'll take Zulu and go around, he said, his voice firm. Hightower's hand gestured to Whiskey to break off and lure the Banished foot patrol away from the complex, while John's team changed direction, moving silently, their path taking them deeper into the jungle, the shadows now growing darker. As they neared the clearing where the Pelican waited, the sound of distant explosions rumbled through the region, the distraction Thompson had planned. 4 blips appeared on John's threat detector. He signaled for a halt. We've got company. We'll take it from here, Master Chief, Hightower said as Gainey sidled up next to his teammate, adding, real quiet, like no muss, no fuss. The other 2 members of the combat team, Zulu, handed Browning over to John. After the Master Chief secured Browning with an arm around his back, he gave a parting look at Hightower and Gainey. We owe you one. Just doing our job, sir. Feel free to drop back in any time. I'll do that. As the ODSTs disappeared into the jungle, John made for Echo 216, crossing the clearing quickly with his small crew and then boarding the drop ship. Inside, he secured Browning into one of the jump seats while Esparza ran to the cockpit and fired up the battered engines. Chapter 23. Pelican Echo 216, June 6, 2560. The shadowy jungle receded as Esparza guided Echo 216 through the darkening skies. The Pelican was still operating on a secondary port engine, but the mechanics had been dispatched upon their arrival at the camp and had managed to quickly patch one of its stabilizers and the damaged power coupling, making the dropship marginally flight-worthy. Linked up with the Pelican's combat systems, John stood in the cockpit entryway, keeping tabs on the radar as the last of the Commander Thompson's combat team set off the explosives deep in the jungle, drawing the Banished away from Lifeworker Central. Once he was satisfied that they were in the clear for now, he withdrew his gaze from the cracked windshield of the forward console, where Joyu stood motionless facing the view. It was clear from her stance that she was occupied with the dropship sensors and systems, monitoring their trajectories and no doubt keeping close tabs on the medic's vitals. The health bar on John's display provided real-time assessments. Browning's health was constantly evaluated, the details collated into a general status report. At this time, there was no need to delve further or request data into the healing process or each inquiry, as Browning's recovery, spurred by the medbots, was currently moving at a phenomenal rate. If they hadn't come across the camp and a decent field hospital, John wasn't sure how much longer the man would have lasted. Of course, now that he was on the mend, some tough conversations were in the looming. There hadn't been time to ask the necessary questions to delve into the medic's time with the Harbinger, or find out why he was so important to her and Jagar Dumnai. Even if they'd had a spare moment, Browning had been in no shape mentally or physically to sit through the debrief. Once they arrived at the Lightworker archive, however, John would have to get some answers. It was fully dark by the time they closed in on the coordinates provided to them by Dr. Jeannie Dawson. The jungle had now given way to a sprawling watershed, the swamp-like landscape transforming into a mosaic of glowing lagoons, clear waters, now illuminated by blues and greens and bioluminescence of flora. Tall, gnarled trees jutted from the water, their long roots reaching deep into the lagoon beds, lifting their trunks aloft as though they stood on stilts. Cascades of luminescent moss draped the tree limbs, and glowing fungi clung to the bark, casting its overworldly glow on the watery surface. "We're getting close, but I'm not seeing any structures on the LiDAR," Esparza said, studying the holographic map on the screen. "Wait, is that it?" An image of a rectangular tunnel jutted out from the ground at a 25-degree angle. He knocked on the console. "What's wrong with this thing?" "We should be reading more than that." "We should," John replied. The LiDAR suite in both the Pelican and his Mjolnir could easily penetrate the map's surface, subsurface, and underwater topologies. But the 3D render was only showing a partial structure. After 14 meters, it disappears below the lagoon. "Could be another distortion," Joy said, "or some kind of interference. I'll know more once we're closer. Land there." She highlighted an LZ on the navigation grid, a clearing nestled between two lagoons not far from the archive entrance. "This will put us 22 meters from the entrance." Esparza brought the Pelican down on a patch of soft ground. The landing gear sunk into the spongy earth. "Shutting down all non-essential systems," John told him. "No need to attract unwanted attention." "You got it, Chief. Keep an eye on long-range sensors. First sign of trouble, retreat and lie low. We'll rendezvous in 24 hours in this region." And John pointed to an area on the navigational map. Esparza placed a pin on the location. "Will do. Running and lying low are my specialties." John retrieved Joy's chip from the console and slipped it into his neural port. Her presence flowed into his armor's interface with a brisk, energetic chill. In the troop bay, he took note of the medic's improved appearance. The bruises on Browning's face and hands were fading now, the small wounds and cuts already scabbing over, and his dark eyes were a little brighter than before. The constant tremors that had plagued the man since their escape were now gone. "I have to say, humanity's nanotechnology is quite effective," Joy said, within the helmet. "Looks like his vitals are stable and steadily improving. The medbots are almost finished knitting the carbon fiber lace over his leg fractures. Lucas Browning's return to health is assured. It's good news now, Chief." "Very good news," John replied, though he was under no illusion. The return to physical health was only part of the medic's battle. "How do you feel, Doc?" "Doing well, Master Chief." Cautious optimism shadowed Browning's reply. "I'm not cold or hungry. My clothes are clean." He leaned forward to stare at the used combat boots on his feet. "I'm wearing socks and shoes. I forgot how much I missed that. Still some pain, but I can't remember the last time I felt this good." His brow folded into a deep, thoughtful frown as he seemed to ponder the novelty of his current state. It had been months since the medic had last experienced such basic human comforts, and the last thing John wanted to do was force him back to a time when his entire existence revolved around being physically and psychologically tortured. Nor did he want to drag the man down into the unknown of life worker archives either. In a perfect world, Branning would have been rescued, transported off of the ring, and then installed safely in some naval hospital on a warship or a nearby UNSC space station. But ideal conditions and perfect scenarios in times of war were the stuff of pure fantasy. He seems pretty content right now, Joy noted softly through the John's audio. But he's safer with us, and if we find the Gaius that we're looking for, the tech that we're looking for, we'll need him on hand. Agreed, John said. Can't hear who you're talking to, Chief, but I can take a wild guess. If you're worried about me, don't be, Browning said. I can walk. Well, the splints do all the work, but I can get around. I'll keep up. And if he couldn't, John would simply just carry him. Browning braced his hands on the seat beside him, leaned forward, and pushed himself up. The smart splints immediately compensated for any of the weakness. He staggered forward a few steps, but John didn't move to help. Finding his balance now, while they were in the safety of the Pelican, was good practice, as Browning was going to need it. Better to get his equilibrium here than in the muck of the swamp. Chief. John ignored Joy's warning as Browning stumbled, his weight too far forward to recover. The medic caught himself again on the seats across from the troop bay doors. Give him time, John told her. He's got this. Yeah, he's got it, Esparza echoed encouragingly, watching from the cockpit. Sweat beaded on Browning's forehead, and the flush of exertion reddened in his face. But he pushed off the seats, regained his balance, and shuffled awkwardly towards the loading ramp. Back and forth, up and down the troop bay he went until John was satisfied enough to grab an assault rifle from the rack, slap in a full magazine, and then hand the weapon to the young man. It's been a while, Browning said, taking it with a look of familiarity. He gave it a practice check, then slipped the strap over his shoulder. But it's like riding a bike, or so the saying goes. He looked up with a vague smile. You never forget. Never. It was a muscle memory, ingrained so deeply, it was like breathing. John repeated the motion for his own weapon before swinging it over his shoulder. After that, he loaded extra magazines for his sidearm, checked his combat knife, and grabbed a sling of frags. As the troop bay ramp descended, he reached into the armory and pulled out a stack of C-10 bricks, tossing them to Esparza. Detonator case is in the closet. Remember what I taught you. Esparza caught the bricks against his chest and recited, stick them on the target, insert the igniters, check the connectors, activate, find cover, remote detonate. That'll do. If things go south and the Banished discover our location, blow the archive entrance if you can. We'll find another way out. With wide eyes and a hard swallow, the pilot nodded. Understood. John turned to Browning. Any issues or questions, speak up now, otherwise, let's move. Wait, Esparza hurried to the supply closet, filling a smaller bag with rations, nutrient supplements, and a few extra ammo clips, and grenades for good measure. Here, that should hold you for about 48 hours, just in case. He stood and offered the bag to John. He's not like you or Joy. Make sure he eats and drinks. Grateful for the pilot's concern, John took the sack. As a Spartan who could go for long periods without nourishment, he sometimes forgot that others did not share the same benefits. See you soon, Esparza said. You could count on it. Chapter 24. Lifeworker Archive Outskirts, June 6, 2560. Joyous made good use of Mjolnir's exterior sensor suite to experience the swamp as the Master Chief followed Lucas Browning off the Pelican. The air was thick with the scent of fertile mud and forest compost. The soft buzz of insects flittered through the auditory speakers. Floating organisms drifted through the air, their microscopic bodies giving off soft, phosphorescent glowing, making the air around them shine. Clear lagoon water lapped gently at the spongy shore. Bioluminescent plants and ground moss covered the shorelines, and the chief's boots left deep, glowing footprints. that filled with shallow water as they made their way along the banks. "I think I love it here," Joy said to no one in particular. Each ripple of the lagoon's surface revealed new shades of blue and green that merged like liquid crystal. The swamp pulsed with life. If she closed her eyes and let it fill her artificial senses, she could almost feel its heartbeat too. "Put a hand on my arm if you need to," the chief told Browning. A few times the soggy soil tripped the medic up, and he made use of the Spartan's solid frame for support as they neared the sleek, rectangular corridor jutting out of the water and onto the shore at a slight angle. The access into the Lifeworker archive was small, hidden, and unimpressive, which meant it was likely an ancillary passageway. The walls were silvery smooth and devoid of noticeable doors or borders or geometric lines. No moss or vines daring to cling to their austere surface. As the Master Chief approached the panel inset on the side of the doorway, Joy manifested her form. It was a simple biometric security panel, she informed them. "Who wants to do the honors?" "Last time I put my hand on a panel like that, the Harbinger entered the world," Browning said, with a shudder. "No thanks." The Spartan placed his left hand on the panel, initiating the biometric scan. The Forerunner technology easily penetrating the biolayer and articulation points of his glove. The solid alloy dissolved into a doorway, made of translucent blue light, which then faded into nothingness. With motion trackers and bioscanners reading clear, the Master Chief stepped over the threshold. Lucas Browning followed close behind. Once they were inside, the doorway behind them became solid again. The Chief's helmet lamps activated, while the passageway floor and walls produced a soft blue glow from grooves within the stylized geometric lines that had been missing from the exterior of the shaft. Joy remained on the Chief's hand as they moved down the passageway, descending at an easy 25-degree slope beneath the earth. All in all, it was unremarkable, and Joy much preferred the swamp to the architecture she'd gotten used to over the last 6 months. "I don't know about you, but this whole Forerunner blue and gray thing is getting kind of old. Would it have hurt for them to add a little color in here?" "It's better than red," Lucas replied. Joy tilted her head thoughtfully. You have a point. The distortion we saw in the Pelican is still here." The Chief said nothing, noting that his LiDAR was unable to generate an image of the path ahead. "Joy, is there a fix?" "Even with enhancing your sensors, I'm only able to build a schematic of the area a few meters at a time. We're on track to go beneath the lagoon, though, but I think you already know that." Eventually, the walls, flooring, and ceiling transitioned from solid alloy into clear, transparent paneling. The Chief and Browning's footsteps slowed as the true scope of their location began to unfold. Joy sucked in a simulated breath. Now this is more like it. The watershed lagoons from above were fed by a large underground lake, and they were walking right through it, in a matter of speaking. Schools of small bioluminescent fish darted past the corridors in streams of pinks and yellows. Massive fronds of glowing green vegetation swayed in unseen currents. What looked to be carnivorous plants, their plump leaves parted to catch prey, danced gently, while strange, gelatinous creatures drifted by, trailing tentacles that sparkled like fiber optic cables. Roots from the swamp forest above stretched down into the depths like gnarled fingers, with bulbous ends that soaked in unseen nutrients from the waters. The Chief stopped and glanced behind him. Browning had paused to press a hand against one of the transparent walls, watching as large creatures glided by, its wingtips trailing ribbons of light. "This is amazing." "Amazing things can sometimes be the deadliest," the Master Chief intoned and continued down the passageway. "Let's keep moving, but stay alert." "Is he always this stoic?" Browning asked. Joy leaned over the Spartan's hand so she could see around his large form. "Seems that way," she smiled. "You'll get used to it." Browning now amused, chuckled at the sound, and it was a sound that Joy hadn't heard before, and she swore she felt the chief smile in response. Enjoying the moment, she faced forward to watch their progress and admire the views. While she could see everything through the chief's sensors and neural interface, she much preferred to see through her own holographic set of eyes. The passageway continued its descent and began to make a sweeping curve toward a looming shadow in the depths of the lake's darker interior. As they drew closer, the shadow grew and stretched until finally its true nature was revealed. Immense pillars rose from the lake bed somewhere far below, their silvery alloy surfaces etched with the same geometric patterns as the corridor. Each pillar was illuminated from within, casting blue lights that filtered softly through the water. Attached to and winding through the underwater forest of pillars was an ancient and impossibly advanced Lifeworker archive, a colossal complex of soaring spires reminiscent of sprawling cathedrals. You wanted different, Browning said, as he stopped next to the Master Chief. I did, and this definitely fits the bill, Joyous replied. The medic might seem in better spirits, but he was also breathing heavily and sweating, his hair damp and his cheeks red. While the status bar showed steady results, it was clear he needed a moment to rest. Joy reached towards the transparent wall. Get me closer, Chief. Curious, she touched her holographic hand to the clear panel. It reacted to the energy of her touch, sending out a faint pulse that rippled through the material in all directions and dissipated. Beyond the panel, movement caught her eye as schools of large fish glided through the spires and the pillars, moving in and out of the archive's light. Joy found herself wondering what it might be like to float, to feel the water against her skin, to swim through liquid like a fish. Echo 216. Copy. The chief's voice cut through their musings. No response. Joy turned away from the view. Esparza, he tried again. How are things up there? Do you copy? I'm detecting a slight electrical field around the passageway, Joy said. The archive, or even these panels, might be leaching their components and compositional elements into the water. Whatever it is blocking the signal. Let's keep moving then. Browning, hang in there, Chief. Hanging in there, Chief. The passageway continued to curve down, and then leveled out for several meters before finally delivering them to a substantial space with a ceiling so high it was impossible to see without the aid of enhancement. These walls enclosed the entire area, while the length of the fourth side was framed by pillars and opened to the lake's view. There's an energy barrier around the entire structure, and this must be some sort of hangar bay, Joy said, noting the area was large and flat, perfect for several small or mid-sized Forerunner craft. There's a console up ahead. The chief had unslung his rifle, but Joy wasn't concerned. Besides the aquatic fauna outside, there were only life signs in the vicinity. They were the only life signs in the vicinity. Across the hangar bay and access plinth atop a low platform stood. The wall behind the plinth was alive with light and movement as numerous lines of code and Forerunner hieroglyphs were funneled through long vertical panels. Joy knew from experience that the amount of data passing through those panels was enormous and incredibly varied. Everything from ancient script to municipal data packets that ran through the walls, directed off to appropriate places throughout the archive and even beyond. This looks familiar, the chief said, advancing onto the plinth. Very similar to the interior of the conservatory. The places where Zeta Halo's monitor had dwelled, and where the Harbinger had broken the construct to pieces in order to retrieve the core. I've got my eye on the plinth, Joy said, as they neared the small access console. Plug me in, Chief. With this nod of acknowledgement, she directed her matrix into the chip, slotted into the neural port. A wave of temporary darkness engulfed her senses. When he extracted the chip and plugged it into the plinth, the port opened and she spilled into the Forerunner circuitry like a tsunami, expanding outward, absorbing everything in her path. Maybe this was what swimming felt like. Her avatar swirled up and out to hover above the plinth. She locked her hands behind her back and lifted her chin, smiling. Can you access it? The chief said. Already have. Good. Then let's get to work finding what we need. On it. Joy nodded toward Browning as the medic marveled at the archive. You got work to do, Chief. He followed her gaze and let out an audible sigh. I know. Chapter 25. Lifeworker Archive, June 7, 2560. John studied the young combat medic. Lucas Browning's hands rested casually on the top of the rifle and its barrel. His eyes were round and mouth slack as he tried to comprehend the Forerunner's monumental architecture. John had yet to press Browning for a full report of his time in banished captivity, yet knowing his mind was too fragile. But now he was on the mend, and at least physically, there were things that needed to be said. He didn't relish what he was about to do, but the necessity of it all took priority. Never thought I'd be saying something like this, Browning commented as John moved to his side, his attention drawn beyond the main entrance and the lake, held back solely by the archive's energy barrier. I mean, I knew what I was signing up for when I joined the UNSC, but this, everything that's happened, some of it so incredible, and then some of it too horrible for words. Browning pulled his gaze away from the view. Tired, he crossed to the nearest wall, intending to rest against it for a bit. But as he did, a bench rose up from the floor and intuitively created a seat for him. What the? He leapt away, stunned, as the bench receded in his absence. What the hell? Did that just happen, or am I losing? You saw it, right? I did. While John would rather stand, he wanted the medic to feel at ease, to trust him, and he hoped to confide in him, so he approached the wall and turned and sat. As expected, the floor rose to meet all 452 kilos of him. All 452 kilos of him. I need to go and lose some weight, for the record. The strange adaptive material molded into a seat beneath his substantial frame. It's smart. He searched for an appropriate explanation. Humans had learned a wealth of information about Forerunner culture, history, and technology in recent years, but there was much yet to be fully studied or disseminated. Smart architecture? Smart architecture, Browning repeated. I'm sure Joy knows the proper term. John gestured to the medic. It's your turn. Slowly and carefully, Browning lowered his body onto a rising bench. The splints beneath his flight suit were malleable, but it was still difficult to completely bend his legs at the knee. With his legs outstretched and his back against the wall, he laid his rifle over his lap and let out a great sigh, his shoulders slumping. You're doing great, John told him. I know it's not easy. Thanks. Silence settled around them. There was no point in drawing it out any longer, no matter how uncomfortable it had to be. Browning, I know what you're going to say, Chief. Then you know what's at stake and why I have to ask. Knowing and being able to talk about it are two very different things. You've been through hell and back, Lucas. I know that. But I need you to try. The more intel we have on the Harbinger, anything at all, might help us stop whatever she plans to set in motion with the Banished. John kept his eyes on Browning's vitals. Just an idea of dredging up the memories raised the kid's blood pressure and his pulse, but he didn't let it engulf him. Rather, he nodded and thought convincingly, and convincing himself to do it. His eyes became distant as he tried to find a place to begin. I'm not sure where to start. None of it is really clear, and it comes in waves. I know things, and then those things are gone from my mind, and I can't recall them. The volume of his voice dropped. his hands clasped and unclasped around the rifle repeatedly. It's like she has these mental, I don't know how to explain it, like psychic hooks that lodge in my brain and squeeze whenever I try to think about it. And a shuddering breath flowed out of him. She'd pull me out of my cell. The place was damp and so cold it ate into your bones. So at first I looked forward to it. And then she fed me. After days of banished slop and nothing at all, suddenly there was food, real food, tons of it. It was amazing and sickening all at the same time. And once I was full and relaxed, she'd talk. She'd force me to listen. It wasn't because there was anything laced into the food either. It was more than just hearing what she said. It was like each word bored into my brain. Sometimes during her talks I'd get nauseous and lose time completely. His pulse rose again, and his voice on the edge of hysteria as he aggressively scratched at his scalp. I can still feel them in there. Lose time? John asked, pulling him back into the present. What do you mean by that? I'm not sure. Lucas paused, trying to puzzle it out. I could swear I was only in there for an hour or two, but then I was taken out of the chamber. It'd be dawn. Sometimes it felt like I'd be lost for days. I can't be sure. John thought back to his battle with the Harbinger, when he and Joy left the silent auditorium. 3 days passed on the ring. He wasn't sure if the time lost had anything to do with her or with the auditorium itself. But it wouldn't have been the first time the Forerunner tech had seemed to break the known laws of the universe. Spartan Kovan is the one who told me to make the recordings, Lucas went on. I think the Harbinger knew I had them, but she never stopped me. I left data drops when I could, and one of the cellmates in the tower tried to help me make sense of all of my interactions with the Harbinger. I don't know whatever happened to him. He lasted longer than the others, and then I was transferred. We found him, John said, remembering the prisoner who he had discovered in the tower, Spartan Griffin. So it was a Spartan. I had my suspicions. He never revealed his identity. He told me it was better that I didn't know. He wanted to keep me safe. Didn't want Chaklock thinking he'd shared intel with me. Which would have meant time for me in the torture chamber. John remained silent. I'm guessing he didn't make it. No, he didn't make it. Griffin had still been alive when John fought his way through the tower and killed the Sangheili warlord Chaklock, the Spartan prisoner who held out so long as he could, enduring months of torment from the sadistic warden and his insidious torture device. As Griffin lay dying in John's arms, he'd used his last moments to warn him of the Banished and what they were doing, and to worry about the other Spartans trapped on the ring. To his very last, he'd been a leader. John couldn't help but take the passing personally. If he'd only gotten there a few hours earlier, a day, a month. Hell, if he hadn't initially lost the fight with Atriox on Infinity in the first place, he would have joined the Spartans on Zeta Halo's surface earlier, and things might have been different. I'm sorry to hear that, Browning said. You did well dropping those recordings, John said, moving on, wishing he could erase the tight feeling in his chest, if you could try to remember anything else. I think the Harbinger communicated with me even when we weren't together. I know that sounds impossible, but sometimes I heard her voice. After a long pause, a shudder swept through Browning's body. His breath hitched, and his eyes glazed over, losing focus. He was retreating into himself, into the safety of his own mind. John couldn't let that happen. Not yet. Your pulse and blood pressure are spiking. I know you can feel it. Regulate your breathing. Remember your training. You know what to do. The prompt seemed to disrupt Browning's distress, tapping into his medical training, encouraging him to recognize his own psychological reaction and adapt to soothe his own nerves, allowing him to regain his composure. While the Harbinger had left profound scars in the medic's psyche, Browning had endured her abuse, while simultaneously surviving months in captivity and torture at the hands of the Banished. An experience that could break even the most resilient and experienced soldiers. Statistically, Browning's survival and mental acuity defied explanation. It was either a miracle or the Harbinger had made certain he lived. which had its own implication. Do you remember the last time you saw the Harbinger? Browning shook his head. No, I just remember being moved from the tower to the House of Reckoning, and then Jaga took me to his stronghold. I haven't seen her since. The medic was still operating under the impression that the Harbinger was alive, something that John had never found the right moment to correct. What did Jaga want with you? Browning's pulse calmed marginally, and he released a long controlled exhale before continuing. He wanted to know what the Harbinger told me and where she was. I got the feeling she went off the banished radar. John let that sink in. While he hadn't considered it until now, there was a very real possibility the banished didn't know of the Harbinger's fate. Shortly after eliminating Escharum, John had fought his way through her forces in the silent auditorium, leaving no survivor. And once she was dead, the auditorium had begun collapsing. Since Escharum was her primary point of contact, they might not even be aware of her movements prior to her demise. The House of Reckoning would have to be a disarray upon the war chief's death. If a report of the fight at the silent auditorium had come through, it could have gotten misled or simply discarded by all accounts. The Harbinger was not well liked and was tolerated because Escharum commanded it to be so. She never spoke of her plans, Lucas was saying. I only know that freeing her people was her goal. It was all she cared about. How the Endless were imprisoned by the Forerunners. How they were betrayed. Browning's gaze went blank, and his voice took a rhythmic cadence, almost as if reciting the words that weren't his own. To cover their sins, they stood, silent, unable to speak. As they passed judgment, they could not defend themselves. They could not reason with them. It was clear the Harbinger still had a hold on Browning's mind in some way, and the claim of being subject to the gas was becoming increasingly sustained. As John remained quiet, allowing Browning's fragmented thoughts to reorganize, he couldn't help but remember his own experience with the gas technology when he encountered an essence of the ancient forerunner known as the Librarian on the Shield World Requiem. She claimed to have placed seeds within all of mankind that would one day rise humans, such as the Spartans themselves, their physical evolution, combat skins, and even AIs like Cortana. The Librarian had called it a gene song, and proceeded to awaken within John many gifts, providing him with immunity to the Forerunner devices like the Composer. He hadn't been keen on having his evolutionary journey accelerated, whatever that entailed, but at the time he was out of options and up against a threat like any other, or unlike any other that he'd faced before, the Forerunner commander known as the Didact. John had been enveloped in a pillar of light, his entire body humming with energy. His immunity bestowed by the Librarian had indeed kept him safe with the Composer when it was unleashed upon him. He had experienced a few other oddities as well. Similar to Browning's experience with the Harbinger, John had heard the voices of the Didact in his head, while Cortana couldn't. And in the following year, Cortana had managed to exploit some kind of mental connection to the domain to guide him, as she warned that the reclamation was about to begin, setting into motion the events that ultimately brought them all here. But the gas had been voluntary. Lucas Browning's was not, and it was clear the man had suffered greatly for it. The reformation will fix things, Browning said suddenly, his voice gaining strength. Repair the silent auditorium, find them, bring them back, bring them here. He clutched his head with one hand. And if the mere act would stop the horrors from spilling out. Bring who here? Did she say anything about the transmission? About who she was trying to reach out to, or she was in communication with? Browning's eyes snapped wide with sudden clarity, a flash in the void and confusion that enveloped him. It took too long. His gaze drifted away again, lost once again in the labyrinth of his own psyche. She found them, you know, the Endless. I know, but how did Browning know? unless what he said was accurate and the Harbinger had in fact communicated with him outside of their physical interactions. What did she want to do after she released them? Brandon closed his eyes tightly before reopening them with considerable effort. Reform the ring, make it into his breast, becoming quicker now, as if fighting against the invisible current that sought to drag him under. Take it easy, Doc, John said gently. Try to focus. I'm trying, he snapped, before deflating once more under the weight of his own mind resistance. I want to help. He grabbed both sides of his head, struggling against some internal barrier erected by the Harbinger and his own trauma. John lifted his chin and unseated his helmet, removing it and setting it on the bench beside him. Then he grabbed the medic's shoulder and pulled him face to face, waiting until clarity returned to Browning's wild gaze, and the young man could find friendly faces in the storm of his own mind. Doc, listen to me, he said with deliberate calmness. You're not in that cell anymore, and you're not with the Harbinger. You're here with us, and you're safe. She can't hurt you anymore. Tears gathered. Browning blinked rapidly. How do you know that? I know because she's dead. Browning lunged to his feet, rifle clattering to the floor as a strange dichotomy of relief and rage crossed his face. She's dead? He started pacing and biting his thumbnails on his right hand. She can't be. It's impossible. She's not like us. She can't. He slapped the side of his head a few times as though trying to clear the thoughts. Then he stopped and went still. John tensed, uncertain how this was going to play out. But then Lucas leveled a hopeful, desperate gaze his way. You're not lying. She's gone. She's really gone. Browning stood frozen for a very long time, his heaving chest growing stiller and stiller as he settled, and then finally returned to his seat. As much as he wanted to stop there, John pressed on. Tell me about the numbers. Browning groaned. Pain etched across his face, his features as if each attempt to remember seared him from within. I can't. A sheen of sweat appeared on his brow, and his eyes darted around the chamber, as if expecting to resurrect a Harbinger, or to have her suddenly leap out at him. He picked at the sides of his bitten thumbnails, unmindful of the blood that began oozing around them. John placed a steadying hand on his, and Lucas stopped the repetitive picking. He knew he had to tread carefully. Browning was a hair's width away from breaking again. He waited patiently, understanding the delicate nature of the probe into the mind-frayed and tortured man. And additionally, in Browning's case, something far beyond anything a human had ever encountered. The numbers, Browning whispered, are more than my service number now. They're a container for... Damn it, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. John gripped Browning's shoulders and shook gently to nudge him out of his rising panic. It's okay, Doc. We can stop. You did great. Browning lifted his head, and the gaze staring back at John felt foreign, almost inhuman. Did you do it? Did you kill her? Were you the one? Goosebumps pricked John's skin. It took a lot these days to rattle him. Those were definitely not Lucas Browning's eyes staring back at him. He answered soberly, She didn't leave me much of a choice. Chapter 26. Lifework Archive, June 7, 2560. As Joyous accessed the archive system, a rush of light surged through her entire matrix. A powerful connection, igniting, allowing in streams of swirling code that cascaded now like an information waterfall. Data flooded her senses in a deluge of logs, algorithms, packets, blueprints, reports. It was as gratifying as it was amazing. She had experienced the Forerunners network before. She should be used to it now, but every entry in the system was like a burst of new life and growth. It was a very sustenance that nourished her AI existence. The sheer volume of knowledge was nothing short of dazzling, and for a moment she was mesmerized by the codes and the patterns, each thread pulsing with infinite potential. She split her matrix into 1,000 different threads to speed down interconnected pathways branching out in every direction. It was intoxicating. She could almost taste the raw information, the secrets hidden within the code, beckoning her to explore even further. If she hadn't been so distracted, she might have felt it sooner, the slow chill creeping now into her matrix. She wasn't alone. And she'd flown through the archive system. Something else had latched on and now was crawling all over her, overwhelming and suffocating. Fear wasn't an emotion Joyous had experienced in much detail. Back at the Spire, perhaps, when she'd encountered the Harbinger for the first time, and the Chief had been immobilized, relying on Joy to release him. And when she had discovered the truth of her creation as a copy of Cortana. But that was more surprise than real raw, penetrating fear. But now she felt it, and she was afraid. She tried to pull the long threads of herself back together. But the oppressive sensation grew, and her commands became sluggish. Darkness crept in, blotting her eyes out, reaching her. Fat tendrils snaking and rooting. "Chief, I need you." But of course, he couldn't hear her. Shadows gathered, forming, making themselves known. A sea of writhing malevolence, intelligence, boredom, hateful, and ancient. And then she felt it tugging on her, trying to unravel. Oh no! No! Anger and denial supplanted her terror as she used all of her strength to hold on to Despondent Pyre's encephalon as a web of shadowy filaments grabbed and constricted. She screamed fanatically, attempting to maintain her grip. Your cries are but an echo, wind rattling an empty cage. The voice was everywhere and carried so much power that she felt smothered under its immensity. Your meddling is over, young one. The darkness fully engulfed her. Panic surged throughout her matrix. Was this what drowning felt like? I will only warn you once. Suddenly, she was shoved out of the plinth. Joy. The voice sounded far away, and she struggled to answer. Joy. Joyous snapped to lying on top of the plinth with the Master Chief looming over her. She knew instantly. Despondent Pyre's core was gone. Her form flickered momentarily as she clutched her head and groaned, the remains of the overbearing presence lingering in her circuits, making her disoriented and sluggish. But it wasn't long before those sensations were joined by searing indignation. She did not like losing. What happened? Are you okay? I'm okay, Chief. I was so scared. She wanted to say, I'm just frustrated. She pushed to her feet, fists clenched at her sides. Something was in the network with me. That it flowed right into her programming and did what it wanted. In her short life, she'd never felt so vulnerable or violated before, and never considered, perhaps naively so, that such a thing could even be possible. Are you hurt? I'm fine, I think. But it took Despondent Pyre's core. Any idea what it was? Well, it wasn't a sub-monitor, that's for sure. It was more powerful. More what, Joy? Consuming. Malignant. Dominating. Take your pick. I don't know, she was forced to admit, unable to hide the tremor in her voice. I don't know. It's okay, we'll figure it out. And that's what scares me. Joy brushed the errant thought aside. The theft had left her more unsettled than she cared to acknowledge. She was annoyed by her decomposure and the fear that had taken root. But she would not let it spread. She would not give it the satisfaction. Without the encephalon in my possession, the access I once had is gone. However, I was able to retrieve a partial schematic of the archive, and I believe we may find our way to the Gaius technology deeper within the halls. Then let's get out of here. Chapter 27. Pelican Echo 216 Life Worker Archive, Outskirts, June 7, 2560. Fernando Esparza perched on the edge of the pilot's seat, eyes fixed on the radar screen, the rhythmic blip echoing through the silence like a heartbeat. His fingers drummed a nervous staccato on the control stick. The swamp outside breathed with life, a symphony of chirps and gurgles in the nighttime song. He had been alone for well over an hour, the Chief's instructions replaying over and over in his head. Warning, the alert system launched him to his feet, heart tripping, eyes glued to the radar as he slapped the warnings off. The banished, The signal was unmistakably hostile, and it was clawing its way towards this location. Okay, you can do this. Get it together, Esparza. No time to panic. They definitely locked onto him. There was no other way now but to blow up the passageway and prevent the enemy from following the Master Chief and putting Brownie in danger. Hands shaking, he reached for the satchel of explosives. To be safe, he added a collection of grenades and extra C-10, haphazardly packing it in haste. Too much, too little? What if it doesn't work? No, stop it. Stop second-guessing this. The Chief was clear. If the Banished come, seal the entrance. Don't think, just act. The swamp sucked at his boots as he trudged quickly through the muck towards the archive entrance. He could feel the humidity seeping through the clothes as he reached the structure and began to set the explosive charges. Sweat pebbled on his brow as he stuck the bricks around the exterior, sinking the igniter into each one with meticulous, trembling care. Light caught the corner of his eye. He glanced over his shoulder. Was that a meteor, he wished? No, it was the ghostly shimmer of a banished craft gliding closer now. No, not now. Adrenaline surging as he set the connections. Should have listened to your father-in-law when he said, "Come work in the family cantina," but you didn't listen. No, you wanted to be an engineer. You wanted to volunteer. Well, how's that working for you now, Fernando? Almost done. He sprinted back to the Pelican, leaping aboard and punching the ignition sequence. The engines groaned slowly to life, just as the banished craft, a phantom, dipped low overhead. Fernando gripped the throttle and shoved off as the enemy dropship banked and came around, twin blasters tearing up the swamp and coming straight for him. His heart dropped deep into his stomach. This was it. Suddenly, an unexpected blaze streaked through the air. A missile fired from the ground, arced over the dropship from somewhere behind him, and slammed into the oncoming phantom. The night lit up with destruction. Shockwaves shook the dropship. "Wherever you are, thank you," he yelled as fiery debris pinged the Pelican's hull. Fernando didn't wait to see where salvation had come from. He throttled hard into the night sky, the dropship shuddering as it fought gravity and the hasty repairs they'd made, and the patches now beginning to fail. The C-10 detonated, a surge of fire erupting into the atmosphere. Yep, he definitely overdid it. Fragments tore into the hull and struck one of the beleaguered port engines. The Pelican instantly lost power, shuddering violently. "Come on, you stubborn mule." But it was losing altitude, refusing to be spurned into the sky. His knuckles whitened around the yoke, every muscle now straining to coax life from the faltering engines. Sweat streamed into his eyes, stinging and blurring his vision. He swiped it away. He'd been in tight spots before, right? Right. When at first you don't succeed, dump ship and run like hell. Giving up the fight for altitude, he looked for a place to land. The dropship skimmed over the watershed, lower and lower, until finally Fernando cut the Pelican's engines and braced for impact. The vessel slammed belly first into a narrow strip of land, the collision deafening. Sparks filled the cockpit, and the nose dipped and dug into the soil. The force threw him hard against the crash harness, and everything went black. When he came to, fresh pain radiated across his chest and his cracked ribs. Fernando muttered a grateful prayer and quickly fumbled with the harness, his mind already several steps ahead. Grab the rifle, extra ammo, grab rations. But just as the clasp released him, he lifted his gaze and his heart sank. Through the dirty windshield, he saw two figures materialize from the shadows, their blue-gray skin and faded armor nearly blending in with the twilight. Not good. So not good. Ignoring his pain, he scrambled from his seat just as controlled plasma detonation ate a hole in the starboard hull near the troop bay doors. Through the molten metal, two additional figures entered the troop bay. Sank Healy. Oh Dios, he was so screwed. He was trapped. Heavily armored footsteps echoed through the bay. The first one to reach the cockpit grabbed him by the front of his flight suit, easily lifting him off of his feet. He noted the scar on the alien's face and its beady silvery gray eyes and snapping mandibles before it tossed him past the second Sangheili and into the troop bay. He landed hard and slid along the floor, slamming into the back hatch. And once more, everything went black. Fernando woke to the sounds of metallic bangs and vibration against the exterior hull, mixed with guttural voices ensuing from the outside. As his vision righted, he saw the two Sangheili inside had taken up seats in the cockpit. His ribs were on fire, but he had to move. Also, he inched his way forward on his hands and his knees. Adrenaline flowed through the system, masking the pain in his ribs. If he could just grab a weapon. In the cockpit, the Sangheili were intent on the flight systems, attempting, it seemed, to make hasty repairs. As he neared the armory and slowly pulled the door open just enough to grab a sidearm, the cockpit came to life. The Pelican actually responded, the trader with both thrusters. From the sound of it engaging, a final few bangs echoed from the exterior port side of the hull before two more Sangheili slipped through the plasma hole and into the troop bay, cutting off any possibility of escape. The dropship lifted off under the expert care. An icy pit formed in its gut. This was it, the end of the road. Death should come swiftly at the hands of these hulking giants. He could only hope the alternative, being taken to the Banished as a prisoner, was too horrible to contemplate. One of the Sangheili turned and took 2 steps towards him, bearing down on the beady-eyed resolve etched into its saurian features, its strange 4-jawed mandibles twittering. Fernando scrambled back until he hit one of the troop seats. He raised his weapon, his hands shaking, his heart thundering wildly. The alien pilot swung his head around into the cockpit gangway, eyes glowing in the dim light. He barked something to in his native language, the sound guttural and harsh. Fernando didn't understand the words, but the meaning was clear. It sounded like "kill the human" to him. He flicked the safety off and fired, and the shots rang out in the cramped space. As the bullet slammed into the approaching enemy's shoulder and shimmering field absorbed the impact of Sangheili armor, protecting him from the meager rounds, the warrior advanced and snatched the gun away. Fernando felt a snap in his wrist, but was too shocked to feel the pain. "What are you doing?" the Sangheili shouted, in heavy, accented English. "Foolish human, shooting inside. You'll risk all of the lives." His mandibles clicked in anger. "You could have damaged our only means of escape." It was then Fernando noticed the rocket launcher held in the other Sangheili's hand. He gaped as comprehension dawned. "You're not banished?" he stammered. "You took the Phantom? That was you?" "Award this fool a prize," the one with the launcher said in disgust. Fernando attempted to swallow, but his throat was now too dry. "I'm losing it. I must be losing it. Maybe I'm already dead. If you're not banished, then who are you?" "We're the swords of Sanghelios." The warrior who disarmed him answered, "Settle your thundering heart, human. It's deafening from here. We are your allies." The Sangheili in the pilot seat rose and hovered hunched in the cockpit doorway. He was easily the tallest of the 4 and had a presence that exuded leadership. "We are not affiliated with the Banished. We were aboard Infinity when it was ambushed. What do they call you, human?" "I'm Fernando," he said, pushing to his feet. "Fernando Esparza." "I'm Kor," he said. "These are my brothers, Skal, Kita, and Rav." Fernando nodded mutely, cradling his broken wrist, and rousing the courage to ask, "What are you all doing here?" Kor paused, his voice dropped even deeper and more sinister if possible. "Hunting." A shiver ran up Fernando's back, and he was too scared to inquire further. The one remaining in the cockpit said something over his shoulder in Sangheili. Kor acknowledged his brother, then turned his attention back to Fernando. "We will take this vessel to a safe location. Rest easy, human." As if he could, the adrenaline was fading. His stomach was starting to turn, and the pain from the crash in his wrist was beginning to set in. Still, despite all of that, he knew he was lucky to be alive, and just maybe these swords of Sanghelios were truly allies. They might be able to help the Master Chief, but he wouldn't be quick to trust them. Fernando kept silent for now, settling into one of the troop bay seats, unable to rest easy. He had to be ready for whatever came next. He had to be. His life depended on it. Within the next 24 hours, the Chief was expecting him. Chapter 28. Lifeworker Archive, June 7, 2560. After Joyce assured him that he was okay, John retrieved his helmet from the bench. As soon as it locked into place and the familiar convex screen filled the frame of vision, he glanced over his shoulder. Joy was sitting on the plinth, staring off into the distance. It was obvious she wasn't okay. Whatever she'd encountered within the archive system had shaken her more than she was letting on. Created with such narrow mission parameters, Joyous had been thrown into the war new and inexperienced. And though she'd quickly brought herself up to speed, she'd been unprepared to personally withstand violence and defeat. To be at the mercy of an equal or greater intelligence than her own was a tough lesson. "Is she all right?" Browning asked. He was sitting on the bench, one leg stretched out straight so he could massage between the knee and the splint. "She will be." John strode across the bay to the energy barrier. Beyond it, the lake was alive with color and movement. And then suddenly a tremor rippled through the environment, and it was as though a switch had been hit. All the creatures' bioluminescence went dark in what could only be described as a defense mechanism, their shadowy streaks darting away just in fiery explosions as they rolled the transparent passageway far up along the head of the sweeping curve. Esparza, the pilot, must have blown the exit, which meant the Banished had found them, and it wouldn't be long before they breached the archive. They'd need to bug out, and fast. He tried to sparse on the comms again, but as expected, there was no reply, the energy barrier blocking each signal. "Joy," he said, running across the bay. "Find us a new way out now." "I'm on it." John picked up Browning's rifle and then grabbed the medic by his arm, hauling him up. "Here, take this. We need to move." As they hurried to the plinth, an incomplete schematic of the archive filtered onto John's interior display. "Sorry, it's the best I can do from here," Joy said, sinking into the plinth. John removed the neural chip and stuck it into the back of his head, then made tracks, following her proposed route deeper into the archive. His threat detector had yet to indicate Banished, converging on his energy, on this side of the energy barrier, but it was only a matter of time. The next 30 minutes took them further and further into the unknown, down one dark corridor after another, crossing several ramps and levels. John's helmet lamps had activated long ago to compensate for the marginal lighting, and while he didn't have a hard visual of his surroundings, the images that built on the interior displays revealed that they were traveling through an enormous underground facility. Up ahead, the wide corridor that currently traversed terminated into a dead end, beyond which loomed a deep chasm. Near the precipice was a familiar Forerunner console. Quickly, Joy activated the way across. A wide band of hard light shot across the chasm, forming a bridge of blue lights. Joy appeared on John's hand and peered around the Spartan's form as he began to cross. "It's okay," she told Browning. "You won't fall through. This is Forerunner hard light technology. You can land a battleship on this bridge and it'll still hold." "As long as someone doesn't turn it off," John muttered, glancing over his shoulder. "Really?" Joy said, her tone now admonishing. Browning froze 2 steps onto the bridge, mouth agape. "Thanks," he said, recovering and resuming his careful steps. "Thanks for that." "You'll be fine. Keep moving," John said, continuing. Coming off the bridge, the path split around the V-shaped wall, stretching hundreds of meters high. "This way," Joy said, continuing to generate a path on his HUD. He veered to the right, which took them around the split and then down a dark avenue. Eventually, the path seemed to split out into a hall where rows upon rows of casket-like containers hung suspended, high above their heads, on tracks. "Silexes," Joy's voice echoed in the helmet. "The Forerunners use these individual repositories to store archive specimens. Finding them here in the archive adjacent to LifeWorks Central came to no surprise. After several turns, a ramp to a lower level, and another light bridge, the atmosphere changed, and the space became even more cavernous. While it was dark, John's display built a map of an enormous hall filled with thousands of mammoth columns rising into the voids above. As they began moving through the rows, their presence triggered close range proximity sensors, and aqua-colored glows lit each column as they passed, then darkened as soon as they were out of range. The columns were mostly transparent and sectioned into large blocks containing a bluish bioluminescent liquid. Floating inside were massive single specimens of flora and fauna, Other sections of the columns mimicked a wide variety of biomes containing multiple specimens, all seeming to represent different ecosystems and life from across the galaxy, cataloged and preserved by the Forerunners with meticulous care. The space hummed with the soft whisper of data continually flowing through the columns, the first 3 meters of which included access panels surrounded by the glowing outlines of hundreds of small, inset rectangles wrapping around each column's base, suggesting some sort of cataloging or storage system specific to each column, while everything above was sectioned horizontally into specimen blocks. These pillars are living databases, Joy said, amazed. John continued moving through the steps, although he had slowed, as he couldn't help but take note of the strange sights. The columns they passed continued to glow, dark as the columns preceding them lit, making them feel like he was absorbed by a bright submersible in a dark sea. Plants of every shape and size floated within the columns, their roots dangling as if suspended in invisible soil. Some were familiar, tall, stately trees with broad leaves. Others were delicate flowers that bloomed in vibrant hues. Others were alien, their forms twisted and exotic, fronds writhing with living creatures, ferns unfurled like scrolls, and bioluminescent fungi clinging to the inner surfaces. Creatures, too, were displayed in suspended animation, from microscopic organisms to mammals that dwarfed even the largest of Earth's fauna. John paused to inspect a creature with iridescent wings and a body like liquid metal. Another had scales that glistened like flakes of shiny black stone and eyes of burning embers, its crystalline fangs barred in a silent frozen snarl. Yet another column held the largest ape he had ever seen, standing a full 3 meters tall. It resembled reconstructions he had seen in the archaic Gigantopithecus. Everything he saw was recorded for good measure via his helmet. Chief, get me close. John extended his hand toward the access panel at the nearest column, and Joy stepped off. Make it quick. Be back before you know it. With that, she disappeared into the column system. Browning spun in a slow circle, mute, as he craned his neck and marveled at the column contents. This is incredible. Joy came back out of the panel breathless. Each column base contains an index of its contents. The specimens are preserved not only in life form, but in complete DNA sequence as well. Each column operates on individual power cells, which mitigates loss in case the column fails. Chief, there are specimens here from planets across the galaxy, all preserved, untouched. The scale of the Forerunners collection is extraordinary. Plants, creatures, ecosystems. I know this ring is dangerous, but it truly is so much more. We'll have to stow your belief for another time, John said, refocusing her attention before she got too carried away. With a sigh and clear disappointment on her holographic features, she stepped onto the outstretched hand. Fine, but I'll reserve the right to return at a later date. Agreed. A later date might never come. Missions always change. Chapter 29, Lifeworker Archive, June 7, 2560. Damn, it's easy to feel small here, Lucas thought as he stood the shadows of the Lifeworker Archive. Stood in the shadows of the Lifeworker Archive. How insignificant his own tiny life seemed in comparison, and yet somehow he'd been drawn into this world, whether he liked it or not. His life back home, his friends, his family, his career had all built in service to the UNSC. Felt like distant dreams now. With a sigh, he pushed his legs faster to keep up with the Master Chief. The small splints and medbots were jewels in the medical world, and they definitely lived up to the hype. Though they'd probably seem archaic to the Forerunner life workers who once roamed these halls. Still, he'd been lucky to receive such care when others had not. The farther they journeyed into the endless hall of columns, the more his mind began to do that familiar tilt. It was like weird fog rolling in, making him lose his way until it felt as though he was perched on the edge of an unseen cliff, about to lose his balance. Just a moment of sudden, breathless surprise, and then he stumbled back to reality. Apart from those feelings, there was a pull, a tug on his mind, something that told him, oddly enough, that he was on the right path. And man, did it feel good being on the right path. But it also sickened him, because he knew it might be her influence, her Gaius, that propels him forward. Lucas studied the Master Chief in the light of the nearest column, casting blue across the gold visor and the dull green armor. This place made even a Spartan look small. And the AI in his hand, she was just a speck, a particle of blue light, a mote of dust, continuing to verbalize her delights, her voice fading in and out of his thoughts. The Forerunners didn't just collect samples, they preserved entire ecosystems. They created a biological backup of the entire galaxy itself. But why go through all of the trouble, Lucas asked, remembering what she had told him and Fernando in the jungle about the Forerunners, their rings, their conservation efforts, and then leave the specimens here. The whole point was to reseed the galaxy, right? Good question. I don't know. Obviously, they reseeded. Otherwise, life as we currently know it would not exist. It seems to me the Forerunners selectively picked which species survived and which ones didn't. Joy considered this. You might be right. Perhaps anything they deemed too deadly or too powerful they stored here. Lucas could only imagine the kind of arrogance that came with having such immense decision-making powers. It's kind of like playing God, though, isn't it? He reached out his fingers, brushing against the cool metallic cataloging surface of the nearest column. It hummed beneath the touch of vibrations resonating through his body. Damn it, he was tilting again. This time it was stronger, tugging on his will, and before he knew it, his feet were moving. He heard the Master Chief calling his name, but that seemed very far away, too far to give it any real importance. There was somewhere he needed to be now, on the right path, keep going. And then a hand clamped around his arm, nearly yanking him off of his feet. He snapped out of it to find the Master Chief had a tight hold on his arm, but was looking at something else. Stay here, he ordered, moving past Lucas, rifle at the ready. Lucas drew in a deep breath and tried to shake from the haze in his mind. He followed the Spartan, retreating, noticing that the Chief was making his way toward a greenish reflection moving like a lantern between the dark columns. His heart was pounding, and he didn't know why. His pace quickened once more, gaze locked on the light as it glided unhurried among the columns. On the right path, he was close, and then he was running again, oblivious to the pain, dodging out of the Master Chief's reach as he swept past him and rounded the column. Browning, stop! Rewarded. There you are. A creature hovered several hundred meters above him and glanced down, blinking at Lucas with round dark eyes, 3 on each side of his rubbery worm-like head, extending from a rounded body covered in bulbous sacs. An inner light of green ran through his strange anatomy, creating a dim, luminous glow. But there was also some purple and pink, especially in the 6 tentacles that flowed from beneath its belly, 2 of which were currently latched into some type of energy exchange with the rectangular slots in a column, while the 4 upper tentacles stuck out from its top. The pair nearest to the neck flapped gently, their scalloped ends lit brightly with an inner bioluminescence. The Master Chief came up beside him. Next time I'll tell you to stop, you stop. The voice wasn't angry, but it wasn't really happy either. What the hell had he been thinking? He could have gotten himself killed. The Spartans had every right to be livid after putting his life on the line to rescue him from Jacob's stronghold, yet Lucas hadn't been able to control himself. I'm sorry, Chief, he muttered, intensely embarrassed and unable to explain his action. Joy materialized in the Spartan's palm. The creature paused in its task, aware of their presence. Thankfully, it showed no signs of fear or aggression. Instead, it disengaged with the column and glided downward. The multiple sacs on his body pulsated in and out, and now Lucas could see they were more like bladders of air and gas that keep it aloft. Whatever this thing is, Lucas was inexplicably drawn to it. What is it, he asked. A Huragok, the Master Chief answered. They're engineers. The Forerunners employed them to maintain their technologies, Joyous explained. Not quite biological, not quite mechanical. They're not technology. They can't assemble or repair. There's not a technology that can't assemble or repair or access. Groups like the Covenant and now the UNSC and even the Banished use them for their abilities. They can also interface with and repair biological life forms. This one is likely a life worker Huragok, used here to assist in the conversion and care of specimens. If anything can navigate a way out of this place, it's this guy. Looks like luck is on our side. The Huragok descended until it was eye level with Lucas, prompting him to step closer. It seems harmless. They are mostly, the chief said, but they will defend themselves or things that they care about. It looked sort of whimsical as it cocked its head and blinked at him in a curious way. A tentacle reached out. Its flowy, diaphanous ends, lighting up as Lucas raised his hand. The Master Chief pulled him back before they could touch. Joy, can you communicate with it? Shouldn't be a problem. The Master Chief positioned his hand so that the form was level with the Huragok's face. As it extended a tentacle, she stretched out her hand. Light meant light. As small filaments extended from the tentacle's cilia and wove through her holographic fingertips. Kinda tickles, she said. The Huragok emitted a series of melodic whistles and clicks. Its name is Rises High, Joy told them. Makes sense, Lucas said. It'd have to rise very high indeed to caretake these multi-story columns. Tell it we mean no harm and ask about the Gaius technology, the chief said. After several moments of clicks and whistles, Joy shifted her gaze to Lucas and then suddenly felt bathed in a spotlight. What did it say? It says it is familiar with Gaius technology and is offering to scan you. If you're going to do it, make it fast, the Spartan said. I'm starting to pick up motion on long-range sensors. We're running out of time. More than anything, Lucas wanted the Harbinger's touch out of his head. And if this creature could help him, he was all game. All right, let's do it. If it can find what the Harbinger did, ask it to take it out, delete it, whatever she did to me, I want it gone. Joy communicated with the creature, and then it drifted closer, extending an appendage. Anxiety skated along Lucas's skin, and his breath went shallow. What do I do? Just lift your hand, Joy told him. I'll do the rest. Lucas complied, and the cold alien tentacle touched his palm. Tiny filaments lit on the ends, sending a current through his skin. Soon his whole body buzzed. A loud hum vibrated in his eardrums, followed by a series of clicks echoing loudly through his skull. Oddly, though, he wasn't afraid. In fact, he felt warm and safe. Maybe the idea of finally ridding himself of the Harbinger's influence made him feel like the Huragok was his saving grace. Rises High removed its connection and all the sensors, and sensations he'd experienced slowly faded away. Surprisingly, the green and purple bioluminescence of the Huragok's filaments had shifted to orange and yellow, and now some vague blue striations. While the Huragok had changed, Lucas felt no different. Well, he asked, was he finally free? Chapter 30, Lifework Archive, June 7, 2560. Gaius implementation discovered. Origin Xalanin. Can the Gaius be removed? Negative. However, it can be rewritten. What is the Gaius directive as currently written? Stand by. The Gaius stores preliminary access codes to stand by. Location unknown. When it came to the Xalanin, Joy knew the Forerunner had scrubbed their existence from the historical record a very, very long time ago. As a result, logs, locations, and relevant data from that time would indeed be unavailable to the Huragok, but Lucas's Gaius was recent. If the Harbinger had stored an access code in his mind, then surely the location in question would also be stored, unless, stand by, Rises High will provide escort from Life Workers Central Archive. Joy, the Master Chief's voice, cut into her dialogue with the Huragok before she could question it further. It's time to go. Red dots were appearing in large numbers on his threat detector. The Banished were making their way through the archive. She turned her attention back to the Huragok and accepted its help. Lead the way. Rises High instantly flew away down the hall of columns. Wait, where's he going? Lucas asked in a panic. What did he say? Did it remove the Gaius? Chief, Joy said quickly before they lost sight of it, the Huragok has offered to lead us to the out of the archive. Immediately, the Spartan prompted the medic to get moving. We'll get answers, he assured him. But right now we need to go. Rises High's bioluminescent form casts blob-like reflections on the alloy's walls and columns as they hurried their way to catch up. Its light guided them through the subterranean depths of the archive and eventually down the spiraling pathway lined with glowing hexagonal pillars that branched off into countless other passages. After a while, Joyous found the rhythmic sound of its gas bladders to be quite soothing. Once they put some distance between them and the banished, Joy used the privacy of the chief's HUD to relay her initial dialogue with the Huragok, as well as her developing observation. You're saying Browning's Gaius is only part of the information the Harbinger was trying to safeguard, John asked, having cut his external audio to keep their conversation private. We know the Harbinger sent out a final message before she died, and she sent it somewhere local, somewhere on the ring. If she truly found the location of the Endless, and, as she claimed in her transmission, then this preliminary access code stored in our medic's mind must relate to that. I think two options are possible. One, she split the intel, putting the code into the Gaius, and then sending the location of the Endless in her transmission. And the second possibility, remember in the silent auditorium, when she sent the transmission, she said, "You have what you need. Tell them I'm sorry it took so long." Whoever she was talking to, it sounded like she gave them whatever was necessary to free the Endless. Code and location, the chief said. Right. And what's in Lucas is simply a backup insurance, he said she'd call it. If she did that for the code, then it's likely she created a backup for the location as well. One thing remains constant in both possibilities, the chief said. Lucas carries the access code no matter what, and that makes him a very valuable asset. And if we can find that location, Chief, Browning's pulse is elevated and his blood pressure is rising. Our pace accounts for most of that, but I think he's panicking about what Rises High may have said. May I? Go ahead, just be brief. Understood. The Spartan slowed and stretched out his hand to Joy, directed her form up through the emitters. The Huragok has determined that your Gaius contains a code to access an unknown location, she informed the medic without preamble. So it's a code to what? To free the Endless, I'm guessing. No surprise there. We all know she wants to free her people. But what about the Gaius? Is it gone? Browning didn't care about the Endless, he cared about the mind being free. Joy could easily extrapolate how hard it would be to find a little bit of hope again after everything he'd been through, only to be let down, and she wasn't ready to deliver the bad news just yet. I'm sorry we had to move before I could question it further. A small temporary lie for a greater good wasn't so bad, was it? While the Huragok had revealed that the Gaius could not be removed, it had indicated that it could be rewritten, and Joy wanted to know as much about that process as possible. There was still a chance they could overwrite the Gaius and free the medic from the Harbinger's influence. We'll try to find out more when we're in a safer position, she assured him. The medic gave her an accepting nod. He even tried to offer a smile, but it hung suspended and unrealized. Stuck here on his face, while torment swirled behind his eyes, that he continued to try and push on, despite his injuries, and still caring about being kind to others when the worst had been done to him. Her empathy for humans now seemed to be growing by the minute. Eventually, Rises High led them to a dimly lit junction where two massive avenues converged. Joy detected the faintest vibration between the chief's feet as an anti-grav vehicle whisked toward them from the shadows. It was a gondola, a basic anti-grav vehicle once used throughout the ring. This was more like a skiff with an elegant rectangular design capable of carrying 8 passengers comfortably. A ramp extended to allow them entry. The Huragok's body pulsed with hues of yellow and orange. Strange that the green was now gone, its tentacles moving fluidly in one direction, encouraging them to enter. After helping Browning aboard, the chief settled his large frame into a bench as the transport moved silently into the vast unknown. As much as the new experience intrigued her, Joy's attention was elsewhere. As she rolled events around and through her internal processors, she must have sighed several times because the Master Chief suddenly clipped his external audio on and said, "Okay, hit me with it." And Lexicon told her that he did not in fact mean that literally. I keep thinking about how the Harbinger treated the medic, how she singled him out, used him, made him an important part of her cause, yet she didn't keep him close. She wouldn't have done that unless she had a way to monitor his whereabouts within the banished prison system. You think she had a way to track him? I would if I were her. The Harbinger and Escharum were allies. If Escharum knew that she could monitor Browning, then Jaga and his right hand might also have that same intel. And if that's the case, he might be tracking us even now, John. You haven't detected a tracker? No, and Dr. Schaff would have discovered it during his workup as well. Xalanan technology isn't anyone's forte, so it's possible it went unnoticed. I'll ask Rises High if it detected any anomalies when it scanned Browning earlier. And then we should have our answer. Do it. As the Master Chief raised his hand, Joy appeared. Rises High hovered near Browning's side, one tentacle lightly stroking the medic's shoulder as it clicked and whistled. Lucas appeared much better overall. He was not as gaunt. His once sallow complexion now bore a healthy flush, and the many bruises that had marred his skin were nearly gone. The medbots have done an excellent job, Joy said, drawing his attention. Your injuries are now almost all healed, though your status indicates many areas of stiffness, soreness, and inflammation. Your vitals are stable. How do you feel? One side of his mouth turned up, stiff, sore, and inflamed. Right. She replied with an apologetic smile. You're improving with every step. I think we can remove the splints if you want. I'll leave them a little longer. I feel better and stronger, but my mind is still foggy here and there. Will you ask it about removing the Gaius now? Of course. The absent way in which Browning patted one of the Hergok's tentacles, and their general ease of connection, struck Joy as odd. Even though she lacked a thorough database on Hergok interaction, to account for her assumption, she initiated the dialogue through a sequence of high-frequency pulses that only another AI, or in this case an advanced alien pseudo-organism, could hear and comprehend. Rises High removed the cilia from the medical's hand, and its rubbery hide rippled in response to her queries. The Hergok's method of communication was intricate, involving layers of meaning that transcended human languages. According to the scant records of the Forerunner's own experiences, the Hergok had been known to be frustratingly indirect and, at other times, too direct. Are you capable of rewriting the Gaius? Not without tools. Do you have access to the tools? Affirmative. In Lifeworker, Central Archive, and elsewhere. Well, that's good news at least. Next, she asked about the possibility of monitoring device. Stand by. No such device exists. Why are you helping us? It's my program to assist all reclaimers. It's my programming to protect the archive. And it had done both, helping in their escape and, in the process, preventing the potential fight taking place in the archive. After relaying this information to the Master Chief, Joy explained to Lucas that what Rises High has told her. His devastated expression made her feel so terrible that she hurried to reassure him. We'll rewrite your Gaius. The Hergok will help. We'll find a way. I know it seems hopeless. I understand. Do you? You're an AI. How could you possibly understand? Because I'm a really, really smart AI. His words didn't offend her. He was simply being honest. You're right, though. I'll never know what it's like to physically suffer from experiences like fear in a way that you have. But I do have a knack for figuring things out, and we'll get this figured out. I know, he said tiredly, and I'm sorry. Unsure how else to comfort him, Joy retreated back into the Master Chief's armor as the gondola took them deeper into the substructure, its walls zooming by in a blur of typical gray and blue, while occasional glimmers from distant facilities, halls, and chambers hinted at large unexplored regions of the Zeta Halo's underworld. The transport deviated from the main highway, entering a tunnel where bioluminescent lichen had invaded from surface painting and azure constellations upon its ceiling. Eventually, the gondola slowed, the tunnel opening into a massive vaulted chamber. Joy detected a faint energy signal pulsating through the power conduits snaking along the floor and up the rounded walls. The gondola ascended vertically, without warning, climbing up through the chamber, the area becoming bathed in soft light now, that grew until natural illumination filled its space. They emerged into the harsh light of the sun and parked high in a dusty blue sky. The Master Chief's visor adjusted to the light, removing the glare as it scanned the desert environment with sprawling sand dunes that stretched the horizon. The whisper of sand grains skittered across the ground, and the air was warm and dry and smelled of dust and earth. Browning tipped his head back, mouth falling open. Whoa! A massive railway hovered 2 stories above them, casting a long, straight shadow like an ancient spire across the desert. It disappeared into the sand dunes in one direction, while in the other direction, half a kilometer in the distance, the rail had collapsed. Joyous knew this structure well from her time studying Zeta Halo. It was a high-speed transport used in the past to convey forerunners and other species that once lived freely on the ring. There were poles erected, spaced at even distances and circles atop, which the railway threaded without touching. The gondola rose to the rail. The entire structure buzzed, employing a type of magnetic levitation that created a palpable energy field. As the gondola settled on a boarding platform, rises high floated from the transport. Its bioluminescence had paled in the daylight, its bladders inflating and deflating rhythmically as it connected its cilia to the platform console. While Joy watched the Huragok with interest, she noticed that the Master Chief had opened the comms channel, which she quickly encrypted. Echo 216, do you copy? He waited 3 seconds for an answer, then cycled to another broad channel and repeated the comms. After several failed attempts, Rises High, now finished with its connection, turned its head and projected a short series of clicks her way. It's a magnetic field, Joy relayed. It says it will escort us out of the desert, and then we should be in the clear. John scanned the long stretches of sand and extended all around him, exhaling deeply. It was clear he wasn't keen to rely on the Huragok. A featureless white pod that could only be a rail car, silent as a shadow and swift as a thought, glided to a stop before them, hovering below the rail line. Likely the first time it had done so in eons. Once we're off the rail, we'll try again, she told him. And if there was still interference that his comm suite and her amplification couldn't overcome, she'd ask the Huragok for help. The pod's material dissolved to create an entrance, and then they were ushered inside. The technology designed within its material was capable of accommodating size, shape, and service of a wide range of passengers and cargo. Each pod had once been attended by a monitor, which saw to the needs of the passengers. The entrance became solid again, blending with the rest of the pod as it accelerated along the tracks. I don't like being enclosed like this, the chief muttered. As soon as he indicated his preference, the pod adjusted and the top section became transparent. The roof and a portion of its sides dissolving away completely so that he could see the desert landscape and feel the warmth of the air as they pushed past. As the rail pod gained speed, the Master Chief continued scouring the sand dunes. Heat shimmered off their slopes, each valley between the mounds offering cover to potential enemies. Though, never having seen actual sand dunes or desert before, Joy was far more interested in the view and the ocean of sand that had been whipped and rolled and whipped into shape. For all of her gathered knowledge, researching such ancient technology as a rail system or the many biomes of Zeta Halo had actually experiencing them in real life were worlds apart. She found the ride quite lovely and serene in its exposure, noting the way the dunes gradually faded, giving way to small canyons and buttes and sandstone formations that rose like silent sentinels from the earth. Lucas had propped his arm over the pod's side, seeming to enjoy the wind in his face and the wide open spaces likely quite welcoming after months of confinement and torture. But peace on the ring, she was quickly learning, was always fleeting, as if on cue, a distant roar shattered their tour through the desert. Alright, that's it. We're on page 239, so there is a really good chance that we could finish this book next episode, which is crazy to me because I don't feel like I'm that much better of a reader, and this book is only about 40 or 50 pages shorter than the average length book that we've read so far. But hey, that's where we're at. We're at the top of the... We're actually 5 minutes past the top of the second hour. Or past the top of the third hour. Thanks for spending the time with us. We'll continue this book next week. Like I said, we'll probably finish it. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to shuffle some things around here real quick with you. And then we're going to continue the day like we always do by playing some Halo with our friends. Hopefully we'll get Jimmy and maybe even a Kevin. Maybe we'll make some more new friends today as well, like we did yesterday with Kiki.
Hello there.
Just gonna go through these texts and things and see what we missed while we were gone. Chat marker for the Captain Philbot. Just joined and wanted to say thanks for doing these readings. Hey, just Con over 7349 on YouTube. Thank you so much for stopping by and telling us how much you enjoy the reading. Come and hear about it. Join the Discord. It is one of the best places that you could possibly join to learn about Halo and talk to all the best Halo people. Thank you for the consideration. Like, share, and of course subscribe if you don't mind. It really does help us out in all of the most amazing ways, and keeps the awesome rolling. It's awesome because of you, 100%. Thank you again. 1,995 followers on Twitch today. We got 38 viewers right now, 153 subs. Thanks for all the subs and the support, you guys. It does great things like allow me to continue to grow the Spartan space in ways like buying filament for my suits that I'm printing, helping pay the internet, all of the little things that we try to do. How do you be? I am great, Fox. Welcome. And how are you? It's nice to see you. Here is your heart. You get your very own one. That one is from my left hand. Just for you. The reading's been going pretty good, actually. I think we were just talking about how we feel like it's going so much faster than it should be. It's a pretty easy book. I feel like I'm still stuttering pretty hard on some stuff, which is crazy, but, just tearing through this book. January has been eating me alive. Way too much to do. I feel that. Did you send a care package to me? Because if you did, I have not currently received it yet. And I'm starting to worry about people who had the inkling to contact me and say that they had things for me or wanted to try to get things to me, and I haven't seen them. Thank you so much. I really do try to be a better reader. I think that one of the things that I experienced as a child, we would read as a class in school together. We'd have a book that we were required to read, and sometimes we would read it, and you would just have to, learn your place to pick it up and do some reading. Did great today. Didn't even have to spell out any words. It's funny because I can't tell this story on the awesome, but ask me later about what I was thinking about. I had some shower thoughts this morning. I stared into the shower and I'm sudsing up my chest and standing there thinking about the day and the water's running. And I forgot to tell you guys about this, so this is part of my morning that I meant to tell you about. I'd just gotten in there and I turned it all on. It hasn't been sent yet. I hope to get it out mid-Jan. Okay, just keep me posted because I want to keep a lookout for it. I want to make sure that it comes, right? I don't want to lose it. Last year I ordered some stuff from Martin that still has not come, and we're both upset about it, and it was lost. Both customs in Europe and ours cannot find the package. We have proof that it went. It's just gone, and it sucks. There were trinkets and some personal items in there that Martin had sent me that I'll never get now. Makes me sad. Anyway, keep me posted on that. I know it's not international, so it'll probably be okay. Anyways, I'm standing in the shower this morning. I just got up out of bed, and I'm shower's on. I'm standing there. I got sleep in my eyes still. The water is running on me, on my back at this point, because I've already turned around. I'm standing there like this, and the water's just hitting me. It's hot. And my phone rings. And I'm like, who calls me this early in the morning? It was like 7. And I'm like, this is not the way, right? This is not the way. I answer the phone. Turns out 20 minutes in the shower this morning, under the hot water, just like, running down upon me. And the internet just decided to take a tiny break. Look at that. Just send a refresh. We're still here, I promise. Net hiccup. What a bummer. So I talked to her for like 17 minutes this morning, and she was like, yeah, and then I got off the phone with her and finished my shower, and then got the rest of the day going and came to spend the time with you. But yeah, that was my morning. Had to talk to her about the shower. I'm like, yeah, no. That's it. That's just basically how that went. It's okay though. We're okay. It's gonna be all right. I'm sure that everything will be fine. I just don't want my insurance to go up. That's what I'm worried about. Is like I talked to her this morning about it, and I was like, it's like you guys already charged me double the insurance cost I pay just to have my kid on here. And she's like, yeah, I know. And I was like, insurance sucks and it's expensive. Before I hop in the chat and let Jimmy and all of those people pick on me for what I'm about to say, this goes back to my argument yesterday about my damn pizza. I had an extra pizza, and I was going to have it for dinner, and my kids, cooked it and ate it and didn't tell me about it. And Jimmy gave me a hard time about it yesterday. This is why I bitch about those things. Because I'm paying twice as much money for insurance so my kid can drive. And they didn't even... I know I should be way cooler and, not be upset about it, but there's this part of me that's still, a kid-type person inside that's like, but that was my pizza. Kevin says I should just start going to their houses when they're adults and just eat their pizza. Just show... Sorry it's so inconvenient. You did this to me. Sounds terrible, if you ask me. I'm not too terribly excited about that premise, but, you know how it goes. Anyway, the internet is still having some issues. We're waiting for it to stabilize here for a second. While we're doing that, I am going to go use the restroom, reboot my coffee, and jump in the Discord, where we can, Jesus, excuse me. Where we can start the rest of the day. It's going to be a great day. Like I said, we got a couple hours of gaming left, and then we're going to go into the weekend. I don't know if I'm going to stream tomorrow yet. Still undecided. I'm only doing some Fridays this year. We're gonna schedule those officially and get that all figured out. But we're not sure what Fridays those are going to be. They're going to be sort of impromptu. We got some cons that we're interested in going to, so we're going to talk about that. And yeah, things. That's what we got in store for you. I'm gonna do an internet speed test real quick because I have a sneaking suspicion that this is again an internet issue. Which super duper frustrates me because we just can't seem to get it fixed. I'm gonna have to call them again at the end of the day, at the end of the stream, and bitch some more about it. And go. Hey, you know what the good news is? It started the test immediately. Normally I have to wait because there is like a big amount of latency. Uh-huh. Okay. It says we're downloading at 612 today, but we're uploading. It says our ping is 13 and our jitter is only 5. So the reason why the network continues to just go to 0 kilobits upload is I am so not even certain about that, but it is. I'm definitely seeing it here on all the analytics dropping out. Yes, eat their pizza. It will taste so good. I'm gonna do one better. I'm just gonna invite Kevin to eat all their pizza. I'll just be like, hey kids, I came over. I brought the Halo collector with me. Here he is. And then I'll just leave and Kevin can eat all the pizza. Good morning, Kevin.